Bonjour! How are you? I hope you are having a great day. I miss you guys. And it's a beautiful sunshiny day, so I hope at some point in time you get outside and do something. Plant some flowers, pick some weeds, scoop dog droppings. Or you could play and have fun. I don't know. I mean, whatever floats your boat, guys. You know? All right. So I'm excited to talk to a lot of you today too. That's going to be fun. See your cute little faces. I can't wait. But until then, here is our read aloud for today for Fablehaven. So are you ready? Look, guys, we only have that much left. What are we going to do when we're finished with the book? I have no idea. We'll figure something out though, okay? All right, so do you remember what's happening? Do you remember? Patton and Kendra are going to the Fairy Queen to try and get some help for finding a cure for this shadow plague that we found the source of it. So Ephira, the floaty spectral lady, is in cahoots with Kirasak, one of the main demons, and they have the nail from the Revenant that is helping to amplify their power and create this plague to try and destroy Fablehaven. So all sorts of fun stuff going on. So Patton and Kendra are trying to get across the pond with the Naiads in it. And why are the Naiads super mad right now? Because Lena left the pond again for Patton. Okay, so you made it to the island in that little dinghy? Patton asked, nodding at the paddle boat. Yes, Kendra said. You're braver than I thought, Patton said with a smile. I didn't really know how to use oars, but I knew how to pedal, she said. Patton nodded. Remember, lean opposite from the direction they try to tip us, but not too far, or they might reverse tactics and tip you out of the boat the other way. Gotcha, Kendra said, glancing over the side, expecting Naiads to accost them at any second. They can't bother us while we're in the boathouse, Patton said, only once we passed beyond these walls. He slid the oars into the oarlocks and held them poised to stroke. Ready? Kendra nodded. She didn't trust her voice. Beneath the water just ahead of them, Kendra heard a giggle. Several voices shushed the laughter. Shh. Dipping the blades of the oars into the water, Patton propelled the craft out of the boathouse. The instant the rowboat passed through the door, it began to pitch and rock. Grimacing, Patton wielded the oars aggressively, fighting to keep the boat steady. Bucking and tilting, the rowboat spun in tight circles. Kendra tried to position herself toward the center of the small vessel, but the violent jostling kept her lurching from side to side, clinging to the bowl with one hand while attempting to steady herself with the other. I've never seen an effort like this, Patton growled, jerking one of his oars out of a Naiad's grasp. The right side of the boat tipped alarmingly high, as if many hands were pushing it up. Patton lunged to the right, jabbing at the water with the oar. The right side dropped and the left tipped high, nearly knocking Kendra overboard. Patton flung himself in the other direction, steadying the boat. The battle raged on for several minutes, the Naiads tirelessly striving to capsize the rowboat and simultaneously towing them away from the island. The oars were instantly seized whenever Patton dipped them in the water, so he spent much of his time wrestling one or the other from an unseen grasp. Meanwhile, the boat twirled and swayed like a carnival ride. As time passed, instead of dwindling, the attack became more brazen. Webbed hands reached up out of the water to grip the gunwale. During a particularly bad bout of tilting, Kendra toppled against the side of the boat and found herself staring into a pair of violet eyes. The pallid Naiad had boosted herself out of the water with one hand and grasped at the silver bowl with the other. Back, Narinda, Patton barked, brandishing an oar. Baring her teeth, the determined Naiad hauled herself farther out of the water. Kendra held the bowl away from Narinda, but the Naiad caught hold of her sleeve and began pulling her overboard. Patton brought the oar down sharply, slapping the Naiad on top of her head with the flat of the blade. Shrieking, the frenzied Naiad released Kendra and vanished with a splash. Another hand grabbed the gunwale, and Patton instantly brought the oar down on the webbed fingers. "Stay in the water, ladies," Patton warned. "You'll pay for your audacity," snarled an unseen naiad. "All you have felt is the flat side of the oar," Patton laughed. "I'm spanking, not wounding. Keep this up and I'll deal out more lasting injuries," he said. The naiads continued to hinder the progress of the rowboat, but they no longer reached up out of the water. Patton began using quick strokes that skimmed the surface of the water, throwing a great deal of spray with each pull. The rapid, shallow strokes were harder for the naiads to grab, and the rowboat began to make progress toward the island. Shiatra, Narinda, Yulene, Hyri, Pina, Zoli, Frindle, Jakya, Lena called. "The water has never felt finer." Kendra turned and saw Lena sitting at the edge of the pier, smiling serenely, feet dangling in the water. Seth stood behind her, an eager look on his face. "Lena, no!" Patton called. Lena began humming a lazy melody. She kicked her bare feet gently, making small splashes. Suddenly, Lena yanked her feet out of the water and danced a step back from the edge of the pier. Groping webbed hands broke the surface of the pond nearby. "So close," Lena lamented. "You almost had me." She skipped a few steps back along the quay and dipped her toe in again hopping away just in time to avoid another grasping hand. "The naiads have never made such a unified, persistent effort," Patton muttered. "Lena is trying to distract them. Chop at the water with the spare oar." Kendra set the bowl in her lap and picked up the extra oar Patton had brought. Gripping it at the middle of the handle, excuse me. She began stabbing the blade briskly into the water at either side of the boat. Occasionally, the tip of the oar struck something. Kendra began hearing grunts, and complaints, "Ow!" Patton began dipping his oars deeper, and the boat surged toward the island. Encouraged, Kendra jabbed at the water more frantically, breathing hard with the effort. She became so intent on hacking at naiads that she was caught off guard when the rowboat ran aground on the island. "Get out," Patton ordered. Laying down the oar and picking up the bowl, Kendra stepped to the prow. She hesitated for a moment. Having survived the island once was no guarantee she would survive again. What if her confidence was misplaced? Others who had dared to tread on the island had been instantly transfigured into dandelion fluff. The moment her foot came into contact with the muddy bank, she might dissolve into a downy cloud of dandelion seeds and drift away on the breeze. Then again, if she opted not to take this risk, her apparent destiny was to become a shadow person on a fallen preserve ruled by a demon and a wicked hamadryad. In a way, an exit as dandelion seeds might be preferable. All considerations aside, she had made the decision already, and now she just needed the courage to carry it out. The naiads could drag the boat back into the water at any moment. Bracing for the worst, she leaped out of the rowboat and onto the firm mud of the island. As on her previous excursion to the shrine, the moment was anticlimactic. She did not transform into seeds. There was no signal to indicate she had done anything out of the ordinary. Kendra glanced back at Patton, giving him a thumbs up. He touched his forehead in a casual salute. A moment later, the boat was dragged back into the water and began to twirl. "Don't fret about me," Patton instructed lightheartedly, skimming an oar across the surface of the water with a ferocious swing. "Go commune with the queen." On her prior visit to the island, Kendra had not known the location of the tiny shrine, and it had proven difficult to find. This time, bowl in hand, Kendra traipsed diagonally across the island, shoving between shrubs on an undeviated path to her destination. She found the gentle spring burbling out of the ground at the center of the island, trickling down a mild slope into the pond. At the source of the spring stood a finely carved statue of a fairy about 2 inches tall. Crouching, Kendra placed the bowl in front of the miniature pedestal supporting the fairy figurine. At the same moment, Kendra inhaled an aroma like young blossoms blooming in rich soil near the sea. "Thank you, Kendra." The words were distinct in her mind, arriving with as much clarity as hearing could have provided. "Is that you?" Kendra whispered, thrilled to have achieved contact so quickly. "Yes. I can hear you more clearly than last time. You are now fairy kind. I can reach your mind with much less effort." "If you can reach me so easily, why haven't you spoken with me before now?" I do not inhabit your world. I dwell elsewhere. My shrines mark the locations where my direct influence can be perceived. They are my contact points to your world. The thoughts were accompanied by mirthful feelings. The combination of thoughts and emotions made Kendra feel as though she had never truly communicated with anyone before. You're called the Fairy Queen, Kendra said, but who are you really? I am Molea. There is no word to aptly describe me in your language. I am not a fairy, I am the fairy, the mother, the eldest sister, the protector, the first. For the good of my sisters, I reside beyond your world, in a kingdom untouched by darkness. Fablehaven is in danger, Kendra said. Although I can rarely speak to their minds, I see through the eyes of my sisters in all the spheres they inhabit. Many of my sisters in your vicinity have been tainted by a terrible darkness. If such darkness were to pollute me, all would be lost. For a moment, Kendra could not speak as a forlorn feeling overwhelmed her. She realized the bleak emotion had flowed from the Fairy Queen as part of her communication. When the emotion subsided, Kendra spoke again. What can I do to stop the darkness? The darkness emanates from an object endowed with tremendous black power. The object must be destroyed. The nail Seth pulled from the Revenant, Kendra said. The object inflames the anguish of a corrupt hamadryad and enhances the strength of a demon. The profane object is embedded in a tree. For a moment, Kendra beheld a gnarled black tree beside a fuming pool of tar. A nail projected from the tortured trunk. The image made Kendra's eyes burn and engendered a feeling of deep regret. Without accompanying words to explain the scene, Kendra felt certain she was witnessing the tree through the eyes of a dark fairy as perceived by the Fairy Queen. How can I destroy the nail? Kendra asked. A lengthy pause followed. She heard Patton's oars sloshing as he continued to resist the attacking naiads. What if we make the fairies big again? Kendra tried. An image of giant dark fairies flashed vividly into view. Terrible and beautiful, they shriveled trees and oozed shadows. Aside from the other potential drawbacks, said the Fairy Queen, I am still recovering from the energy it required to transform the fairies and initiate you as fairy kind. What did you do to me? Kendra asked. Some fairies call me your handmaiden. When I looked into your heart and mind and witnessed the purity of your devotion to your loved ones, I chose you to serve as my agent in the world during these turbulent times. You are indeed my handmaiden, my steward. You and I draw energy from the same source. With the office comes great authority. Command the fairies in my name, and they will hearken to you. The fairies will obey me? Kendra asked. If you issue orders in my name and do not abuse the privilege. What is your name? Kendra asked. Kendra felt a response like melodic laughter. My true name must remain secret. Issuing commands in the name of the Queen will suffice. Kendra suddenly remembered when the fairy at the mansion where the Knights of the Dawn met had suggested she issue a command in the name of the Queen. Can the fairies help me destroy the nail? No, said the Fairy Queen. The fairies lack sufficient power. Only a talisman imbued with tremendous light energy could unmake the dark object. Do you know where I can find a talisman full of light? Kendra asked. Another long pause followed. I could make one, but such an action would require destroying the shrine. Kendra waited. A vision unfolded to her mind. As if gazing down from high above, she beheld the island, the shrine shining in the midst of darkness. The water of the lake had turned black and teemed with foul, misshapen naiads. The boardwalk and gazebos had crumbled. Dark fairies flitted among the rotting debris. Darkened dwarves, satyrs, and dryads roamed among withered trees and parched fields. Preserving the shrine is not worth so much devastation. I would rather lose one of my precious points of contact with your world than see my sisters condemned to benighted slavery. I will concentrate the energy protecting this shrine into a single object. After I forge the talisman, my influence will no longer persist here. I won't be able to contact you anymore? Kendra asked. Not from this place. As soon as the talisman passes beyond the hedge, the pond and the island will be stripped of all defenses. What do I do with the talisman? Kendra asked. Retain possession of the talisman. That means hang on to it. The energy inside of you will help keep it stable and fully energized. While in your possession, the talisman will cast an umbrella of energy that will help protect those around you. If you bring the talisman into contact with the dark object, both will be destroyed. Be forewarned. And this part's very important. Are you listening? Whoever connects the objects will perish. Kendra swallowed. Her mouth felt dry. Do I need to be the person who touches them together? She asked. Not necessarily, said the queen. I would prefer that you survive the endeavor. But whether you or another will complete the task, if the light and dark objects can be joined, the sacrifice will be worthwhile. Much that has darkened will be restored. I'm going to read that one more time, okay? If the light and dark objects can be joined, the sacrifice will be worthwhile. Much that has darkened will be restored. Can we fix your shrine afterwards? Kendra asked hopefully. This shrine will be beyond repair. I won't hear from you again? Kendra asked. Not here. I'd have to find another shrine. Could I approach it if I find it? Kendra asked. Kendra sensed laughter mingled with affection. You wonder why my shrines are so heavily protected. Having points of contact to your world makes me vulnerable. If evil finds my kingdom, all creatures of light will suffer. For their welfare, I must keep my realm unspoiled. And so I zealously guard my shrines. As a rule, all trespassers must perish. I rarely grant exceptions. Does being fairy kind allow me access? Kendra asked. Not inherently. If you ever find another shrine, search your feelings for the answer. You have sufficient light to guide you. I'm afraid to try to destroy the nail, Kendra confessed. She did not want the conversation with the fairy queen to end. I am reluctant to destroy the shrine. Kendra could feel her deep sadness. The emotion brought tears to her eyes. Sometimes we do what we must. Okay, Kendra said, I'll do my best. One last question. If I survive this, what am I supposed to do? As fairy kind, I mean. Live a fruitful life, said the queen. Resist evil, give more than you take, help others do likewise. The rest will take care of itself. Step away from the shrine. Kendra backed away from the miniature statue on the tiny plinth. Her vision blurred and a flood of sensations overwhelmed her. She tasted sweet honey, crisp apples, fleshy mushrooms, and pure water. She smelled plowed fields, damp grass, ripe grapes, and pungent herbs. She heard the rush of the wind, the crash of waves, the roar of thunder, and the faint crackle of a duckling punching through an eggshell. She felt sunlight warming her skin and a light mist cooling her. Sight was temporarily unavailable, but she simultaneously tasted, smelled, heard, and felt 1,000 other sensations, all distinct and unmistakable. When her vision returned, Kendra found the tiny fairy statue shining intensely. She instinctively squinted and shielded her eyes, worried that the brilliant light might cause lasting damage. When she peeked, the radiance did not inflict any pain. Hoping the brightness was benign, that means a good thing, she gazed openly at the statue. By contrast, the rest of the world became dull, drained, and dreary. All color, all light had converged on the thumb-sized figurine. And then the statue shattered, stone flakes chiming as they dispersed. Upon the small pedestal remained a dazzling egg-shaped pebble. For an instant the pebble flashed brighter than the statue had gleamed. Then the light diminished, absorbed into the stone, until the ovoid pebble became rather unremarkable, except for being so white and smooth. Color returned to the world. The late afternoon sun shone brightly again. Kendra could no longer sense the presence of the fairy queen. Kneeling, she picked up the smooth pebble. It felt ordinary, weighing no more or less than she expected. Although it no longer glowed, she felt certain the pebble was the talisman. How could all the power protecting the shrine fit in such a small, nondescript object? Looking around, Kendra saw that Patton had the rowboat back on the shore. She hurried over to him, worried that the naiads would haul the boat away before she got there. No rush, Patton said. They're under orders. Reluctantly, a voice muttered from under the water. Hush, a different naiad scolded. We're not supposed to talk. I got a free ride back last time as well, Kendra said, stepping into the boat. Good news? He asked. Generally, Kendra said, I'd better wait until we're back at the tent. Fair enough, Patton agreed. One thing I'll say, that stone shines almost as brightly as you do. Kendra glanced at the stone. It was flawlessly white and smooth, but did not seem to her to admit any light. She sat down. Patton rested the oars across his lap. Guided by unseen hands, the rowboat coasted away from the island and drifted toward the boathouse. Glancing up, Kendra saw a golden owl with a human face gazing down at her from a high limb, a tear sliding from one eye. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. We're on chapter 22, and we'll keep going the next time. All right, guys? Okay, I'm excited to talk to you and see your cute little faces. So I will see you next time, okay? Have a great day.